Really want to show you the appreciation of spending some time with me. I'm hoping you get something that inspires, informs, encourages you. What this live stream is all about is how to increase connection to our creativity, the confidence to express it, and the courage to share it. And these 15 live streams, this is number 11, so there's 4 more every Monday and Thursday. And I'm going to continue after this series is done, and we're going to be sharing ecological, economical holiday decor ideas, which is another form of creativity. I love to explore all types of creativity, from making clothing to making jewelry to designing environments to writing and books and cards. And I like to do everything I can creatively just for the fun of it, and then also have those life enhancing things in my home or to share as gifts and products. So these live streams are about finding our creative passion and promoting it. So the first, every live stream, and this is number 11, is up on the Creativity Show, and everyone had a different subject in the promotional category. Till now, we're getting to, I have to admit, my preferred part, which is about creativity and how to better connect with our own imaginations. So that's what this is about. And I want to thank the Minnesota State Arts Board and the National Endowment for the Arts for the grants to do these live streams. And thank you for being here and telling a friend. And like I said, the Creativity Show, as soon as the live stream is done, they go up there so you can see them again or share them with a friend, see them anytime you like. So thank you again for being here, and let's get into the how to enhance our connection to our creativity. Well, when we watch children, the fortunate ones, get to play. And they don't judge themselves, and they don't have to come up with a script beforehand. They just enjoy exploring their own imaginations, whether they're role playing, telling a story by dancing it or acting it or drawing or singing or telling a story with words or drawing, painting, building things. The fortunate ones who have supportive environments are encouraged to just enjoy their own imaginations and creatively collaborating with others. So that's the source that the fortunate ones among us have had nurtured. But many, in fact, everyone, sooner or later is exposed to someone critical, maybe jealous, maybe competitive, maybe just unhappy, maybe they don't understand. But we've all heard negative, critical things that can shut us down. As a creativity coach since my 20s, I have heard lots and lots of things that people have told me that other people said to them that blocked them from being able to explore their creativity. Someone was judgmental and often cruel. You can't sing, you can't dance, you can't draw, you can't write, you can't whatever. That doesn't look like a horse, that doesn't look like the moon, whatever. But the truth is, the most successful, and I consider success being happy and fulfilled through doing our creativity. So happiness can come by just creating, and sharing it with others can be deeply fulfilling. So that's the most important success. And if we want to make it a career, that's what the first 10 live streams were about, different ways we can use the social media and all the news and newsletters and ways to promote our work. So those are the first 10 of these episodes. But this one is about finding and increasing our connection to our imagination and our enjoyment, because we're expressing without judgment, without competition. It is my opinion that we shouldn't compete with anyone but ourselves of yesterday, of the past. And truly great creativity is authentic. It's unique. It's not like anyone else. So why would we compete with anyone else? Why would we think we should do it like anyone else? Those are fear-based doubt voices that the world is full of. So we all have heard them and we've all experienced them. So we have to dismiss them, dismiss the critical voice, and step into the joy place and the serenity place of creative reverie in order to build our creative confidence. And it's the more we allow ourselves permission to create a safe environment, safe, if we're sharing it, creative collaborators who don't have hidden agendas, who aren't competing with us, who aren't afraid of us shining, who are 100% advocates of us enjoying and exploring and developing our creativity. If we do that, create an environment where we're safe, and collaborator or collaborators. I had a mother who was a classically trained artist who celebrated my self-taughtness and always shored me up. That's a very fortunate thing. I also had other members of the family that were jealous, unhappy, competitive. They maybe didn't feel good about themselves, and so they didn't want me to feel good about myself. So they would put things down in everyone. I learned to not take it personally. And there are still people in life that will find fault. I had a man who said to me, the first time we met, he obviously had looked at my website and did some reading and said, "You've done so many different things. You must know what it's like to fail." And I really was taken aback. And for a moment, I was offended and angry. And then I took a deep breath and said, we just look at life very differently. I've never failed at creative expressions and all the different things I've done because I learn from everything I do, and it expands me, and that is success. Failure is, in my opinion, not trying, not sharing it if other people would find it meaningful, helpful. And so I don't fail. It may not, and often this is the case, turn out as I thought it was going to, but or thought I wanted it to, because art, stories, dances, music, home decor, all the different things, clothing, design, jewelry, all the different things I love to do. Often they, as I step into playing with the materials, it informs me more than I control it, what to let it turn into. And I love decorating with the same materials, so I'm not spending money. I get to afford to be an artist because I've learned to live a very frugal life, making as much as possible, including gifts for myself, dishes, furniture, frames, frame designs, art. So most of the stuff in my home I've either made or designed and someone else made or arranged. So I've learned to live a very economical life, which is also ecological. I love to find materials and people donate things to me because I will sooner or later find a use for it. And I love to say that the difference between a hoarder and a creative is organization. You could have the same amount of stuff as someone that we would look at and think they're a hoarder, but if it's organized and you know where it is when you get the inspiration to go get those beads. I had one of the first winters after moving back here about 8 years ago, I had a jewelry making. I got all my beads and stones and materials that I'd been collecting and organizing for years, and brought them all out and had a winter of jewelry making. Recently, I had a time of creating 300 stencil designs. A couple years ago, I wrote the more than 52 stories in my memoir, Incandescence, Rising Above Darkness. I've always loved to create. It makes me happy, and it's a serene place. And I love to share it with others and get the feedback. I feel very fulfilled when other people are moved by what I do. I love making these stencil designs that Bodhi has made into SVGs that other people can purchase and have the joy of creativity by purchasing these simple stencil designs. The flowers are coming out first. We've got a few out and we're going to keep going, and eventually all of them will be out, and they're very, like $3 or something on my website. And when I get my Patreon membership going soon, people will get access to all the stencils. That's the first one, the chrysanthemum, and I have a promo video that Bodhi made of showing me doing the stenciling. So there's how to do them, how to use them on walls, on art, on clothing, on platters, on furniture, on hats, so many different things I've done with them. And the videos show you how and give you ideas on where you can use them. And then with the simple purchase, if you choose, you have this stencil that you can print out on your Cricut cutter. I even have videos on showing how you cut it with a razor blade or a hot knife. Even I've done some stencil cutting with scissors and paper. So no matter how far into it you are, the Cricut cutter being something that people that really want to do stencils will invest in. But on the way there, you might want to try the lower cost ways of beginning. So the reason I did the stencils was I thought, well, this is a way I can share creativity, because a lot of people, there's the iris, and next the orchids that I'm wearing now will be coming out, maybe even tomorrow. And the Patreon members will get all of the videos and all of the stencils for the membership fee. Other people can buy or one at a time for $3 a piece, something close to that. And they're many are going to be coming out. So the membership, when we get that going, will be a real deal. And I just love the idea of other people who maybe don't have the confidence to draw or design their own stencils can use these designs to have fun and to make clothing into art to wear, or make their home or workplace or any environment into something that really expresses their aesthetic. And in the pursuit of being freer with our creativity, we have to accept that there are many voices in the world that judge and criticize and compare. None of those will help us, including the ones that we've taken in, and sometimes we don't even know we're repeating what someone else said to us, or we've heard on, in movies, television, advertisements, radio, wherever, school. There's so many places we can pick up negative boundaries. And that reminds me of Noel Oxenhandler, the professor at Sonoma State, who edited my very first stories, barely changed anything. And I was almost disappointed. But she said, no, you have your own way. And there's very little changing necessary for you to, speak in your own voice. And that's what we should all strive for, is just being ourselves. That's the best thing we can be, and the only thing no one else can be. And everything else in the world, someone else could be better at than, but being ourselves, we're the only one that can be us. And that is where the real power and the real juice of creativity is in accepting ourselves and our own spirit, our own fascinations, our own way of seeing things, and our own way of combining different ideas or materials. One of the things that children do naturally is combine. They may sing a song about the drawing they're doing. They may dance the story they're telling. They may act out, play different characters, and then, draw the scene. They don't have prejudice about, I believe, fear-based, fear of scarcity gets people to think they should only do what they're going to be really good at. So early in life, someone tells them they draw well, so that's what they do. Early in life, someone tells them they have a beautiful voice, so that's what they do. And the other things they don't explore and enjoy because they're afraid they'll never be really good at it. But what is really good at it? Really good at it is really enjoying the process. I had a woman doctor come to one of my creativity retreats, and she started with so many disclaimers. I can't carry a tune. I've got 2 left feet. I can't draw a straight line. And I said, we don't do that here. We're not doing disclaimers. Close your eyes and feel the pencil, feel the paper, feel where the edges are. Now I'm going to put on some music, and you're going to just draw the way the music makes you feel. And you can't be judgmental about it because your eyes are closed. And by the end of the day, I love, when I worked in the schools, mixing up the arts, dancing a story, telling a poem about the dance, drawing the poem, and making our own music, percussion on the floor in the gym, or simple percussion instruments, making our own music about the dance or the poem or the painting or the drawing we did that day. And by the end of the day, which I do with adults, and it's easy with second graders, And it can be very challenging with adults because they have so many preconceived notions. The Buddhists call it, open mind, beginner's mind. They can be taught and guided so easily, whereas experts who think they know or think they should act like they know can be very difficult to work with because they have so many judgments. But by the end of the day, this woman doctor said to me, "I haven't had this much fun since kindergarten." And that's when I realized that is really what I want to share, is the fun of exploring our own imaginations and freely, without judgment, without necessity to accomplish anything, but the joy of creating in and of itself. And if we do that, and there are areas that we think, I really enjoy collage. Sooner or later, if we do it enough, we're going to do some things we're really proud to give as gifts or hang in our home or cover, books with, or whatever we choose to do with them. If we keep doing it, we will get better. And we can start as, just a silly, when I started visual art, sumi brushstroke, I did the 5 blades of grass exercise that they teach little kids in Japan. After you mix the sumi ink and the suzuri, the stone, so that was very meditative. And then the 5 blades of grass, each one has its own feeling, its own character. I threw everything I did away because it was an exercise like dancers do pliés. But then when I missed birds when they left my first winter in Duluth, and I went to the library and got every bird book I could bring home, and I started doing these pen and ink line drawings that I gave myself the assignment of I wanted the line to look like it could fly. And I didn't realize till years later that this pen and ink on typing paper, one-line essence drawings, well, they're really hard for some people, but I had learned to breathe through the stroke, to relax through doing these blades of grass. I didn't even know what I was learning. It was just meditative, and I, enjoyed the serenity. And then I got this inspiration to draw birds, and I had this ability, that meditative exercise. So we don't know necessarily where it's going to end up. I've done drawings that I decided when I fell in love with drawing to finish everything I started, because I've seen lots of artists in my life get annoyed at themselves or the piece of art and quit. And I thought, no, I'm not going to waste the paper and the time. I'm going to finish everything I start. And in that time, I did a drawing that I can remember telling off. You look like a pincushion, not a bird. And it turns out it's one of my favorite pieces, and many people love Mama Bird. But at the time, I didn't see her beauty as I was drawing it. And I was coming from a very judgmental place, obviously, but I committed to finishing it, so I did. And turns out it's really a lovely piece that came from deeper in, maybe from my subconscious, where I didn't even recognize what I was working on at the time. And that's the way great art happens for a lot of artists I've heard in my life. Einstein said something close to, I may not quote this exactly, creativity is intelligence having fun. And there we go. So the Picasso, I could draw like a master when I was young. It took me a lifetime to be able to draw like a child. So let us enjoy our creativity, our imaginations for the sake of it, just for the sake of enjoying it without judging. This doesn't have to be something that I even understand while I'm making it. If the process is enriching and enjoying and expressing emotions, is stimulating our immune system, that's enough right there. And if it turns out sometimes I have to really step back from pieces before I can even appreciate them, or designs, that's normal when we're allowing our inner child, our deep subconscious, our instincts, our feelings to be expressed. We may have to step back before we can even appreciate it. I think finding something to put our creative energy into. Some people are like, I don't know where to start. Well, try to remember what inspired you as a child. Try that. What inspires you now? And instead of, well, I love this great music, or I love this great painting or sculpture or whatever, instead of, but I can't do that, well, maybe you can do something equally moving if you give yourself permission to explore it. So what inspired you as a child? What inspires you now that other people have done or you've done? And that's a good place to start. If you could be great at anything, what would it be? And how can you take little steps every day to getting there? And how can you be happy and satisfied in that process of taking little steps? I like to say, make your life a little more what you want it to be every day. And eventually, if you're fortunate enough to live long enough, it will be exactly what it is you always imagined you wanted it to be. And even if you don't live long enough for it to get to that end goal, every day you're moving toward it, and you have a positive, hopeful heart on the way there. Whether you get there or not, it's kind of irrelevant. Organize enough so that you can create more. So when you get an inspiration, you can go to the tools or the materials that you need to manifest that inspiration. And if you're stuck, organize so that when you get the inspiration, you'll be more organized and you'll be able to flow. Stepping into the creative expression is stepping into a flow that is medically documented to increase our happiness. So it's good for us. It's good for the world. The more at peace we are, the happier we are, the more peace and happiness there is in the world. So be an example of that, besides enjoy it for yourself. And it's very important to have a safe place and to share. Your creativity is your vulnerability. It's where we are open and raw and naked. It's where we are most sensitive. So it's very important to not bring it out, expose it to people that are unhappy, have hidden agendas, bullies. There's plenty of that in the world. So protect yourself and your creativity and your happiness by finding a person to show it to if you're ready, if you want to, that has no hidden agenda, that is content in themselves. A lot of people are not content in themselves, and I believe when they see their reflection in someone who is content in themselves, it disturbs them. So they want to break that mirror. that reflects their discontent back to them. So I want to now invite Bodhi to come on and talk about, I know what it was like to grow up with my mother, who would say things like, what's wrong with this drawing? You have all this technique, and I haven't ever been to any kind of an art class, and I hadn't even ever read a book by that point. I just, was enjoyed creativity. And so I'd say, you have so much knowledge, so much training, classically trained in fine art degree, all of that. What's wrong with this? And she'd say, oh, you follow your own way, dear. You just, the rules don't matter for you. You figure it out. And that's what you do. And that's good. And one time I was really annoyed and angry. And I said, well, maybe you could make it quicker and faster for me to get to completing this piece if you would share some technique. So what's wrong with it technically? And she said in her sweet voice, well, technically everything is wrong with it. The direction of the light, the foreshadowing, the perspective, none of that matters for you. You have your own way, and that is who you are and what you do. And my mother called me the elegant primitive because I am self-taught. But I have learned to be content with that. That is who I am. It is my way. It's not everyone's way. Everyone has their own way. But I try to help other people feel safe to explore their creativity. So now we're going to hear from my son what it's been like to grow up with me. And he asked me to work with him and named us Mother Son Productions. And in the last, since social distancing began, we've made, I think, 400 videos. So we've both written books. So we're very peacefully, playfully productive. So your turn to talk about your experience.
I'm going to position myself off to the side here because you get cut off otherwise. Can you hear me out there?
I can. It's soft, but I can hear you.
How about now?
That's better. And I could move to the other side so you could be bigger.
Well, I'd have to come. It's fine. It's really not a big deal.
Okay.
Yeah. So, what it was like growing up with a creative, multifaceted artist, always making things, is inspiring. And I'd say, the thing that I noticed is everything was in flux all the time. Life was always rich with variety. And I remember coming home one day after hanging out with a friend, and I asked, "Hey, Mom, is everything, is the design of the house and the furniture always going to change? Are you going to keep changing the way you've designed things and where the flowers are and where everything is?" And you said, "Yeah, is that a problem?" And I said, "No, it's just I noticed that most people's houses, when you walk in, there's a TV on with a couch in front of it with nobody in the couch watching it. That's what you see when you enter the front door. And our house, it's always something different." So, that I think you gave me the confidence to think outside the box and not follow what other people have done. And I think your upbringing being so unique, and you had to be self-sufficient for so many things, including entertainment and socializing and just learning in general. So you're so self-taught that you have a habit of, any time you have an issue you got to solve or a project you got to undertake, you usually start by trying to figure it out on your own without looking at a manual or a user guide or somebody else's example. And I think that's a great way to continue to foster your creativity and to strengthen your own ability. And it's just not that common. Most people learn to follow the rules, look for instructions before doing things. And, that can leave out the habit of trying to come up with a solution on your own. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I wanted to say something about that. As we restored this over 100-year-old house ourselves without hiring a single contractor, there were a lot of things that would fall into the category of restoration, like transforming our 100-year-old carriage house into a studio that we can film in, make art in. I can even skate dance in. And when we get it done, there will be a creative space on the second level that a group of people could work in, maybe even creativity retreats. But when doing these house restoration projects, even those, I have a prime directive. What is the healthiest, most inexpensive way, healthy for us and the environment, and most inexpensive? And one of the expenses in life is time, the one, maybe the most important one. So what is the simplest way we can accomplish this? And it's often even pouring a cement slab level or repairing our shingles on our house. Often make it simple, do it quickly and with as little expense of materials and time as possible. I have discovered over the years that often it's the right way. It may not be the way that you would see even on how-to videos on the internet, or if you go to a home repair store, because it's not going to sell as many materials or be as much time for the contractor to charge the homeowner. So there's a lot of money-based complexity built into things that is unnecessary. My mother used to say to me, if you ever get tired of trying to make a living as an artist, you should be an efficiency expert, because I had so little growing up and I knew that art was what nourishes me, makes me the happiest. So that's what I wanted to do. So I thought, the more I can make for myself, the less I need money to buy things, the more time I have for creativity, and the less time anything from doing the dishes to the laundry, cleaning a house, whatever it is, the less time I have to spend doing those tasks, the more time I have for the more enjoyable things. So I'm all about efficiency. And sometimes, as we all know, that there's built-in complexity in the monetary-based, consumer-based, sell things, charge hourly rates that isn't necessary. And so I always try to solve problems with my own common sense first, but I listen to experts, and there are definitely lots of things, taxes, legal documents, that I'm never going to be great at, because I don't want to spend that much time learning that convoluted language, to tell you the truth. And the rules keep changing anyway. So there are things I'm not going to do myself. But most anything that has to do with creating or recreating, restoring or repurposing, I enjoy thinking it out. So Bo, you want to tell the story of our first road trip alone together when you were 14?
Yeah, sure. We made our way up to Coos Bay, Oregon, and we brought cameras with us and documented quite a few things, including you skate dancing. You were doing an artist asked you to do a skate dance on this property where they were going to make a maritime museum to um, memorialize this space with some unique creative expression. And yeah, and I remember saying, that I didn't. I said, "Mom, I don't want you to take this the wrong way, but I didn't think this would be as much fun as it's turned out to be. Without a TV or video games." Um, but I had realized how nice it was to um, disconnect and experience a road trip like that and bring with us our creativity and cameras and doing photography and writing and drawing along the way rather than being distracted with TV and video games. Unfortunately, smartphones were not a thing yet. But yeah, I remember being struck for the first time at how wonderfully engaging it can be to just have your imagination as your tool of distraction, not really a distraction as much as an enrichment. Yeah.
Nice. I remember you said to me on that trip, we were driving through some redwoods, and you said, Mom, I had an epiphany. You were 14, and I thought to myself, wow, that's really wonderful that he would use that word, that he knows what that word means. And you said, don't take this wrong, but I didn't think this was going to be, that much fun. But it's just so nice to just do nothing and just observe and use our own inspiration to follow and express that I'm really enjoying this. Just just that. And what a
Yeah.
what a gift if I could give the whole world the gift of enjoying their own imaginations. Can you imagine how much more resources we'd have for other things if we didn't have to constantly run around and distract ourselves with entertainment and new scenes and new events all the time. But if we could just be content in ourselves and enjoy our own imaginations and expressing them and sharing them with others, how much more peace there would be in the world, and maybe less fear, so that people would share more and so many people wouldn't go without basic needs fulfilled. So I am, uh, I guess it is my mission to share the healing, life enhancing, uh, ecological, economical resource of our own imaginations with as many as possible. So I appreciate you telling a friend. We all can use our hope encouraged. It's never been a better time to learn to walk lighter on the earth by creating more, consuming less, running around less, being more settled. Um, so creating more peace in the world. There's never been a better time. There never will be a better time than right now, and then right now, and then right now. It will always be something humans having the same amount of DNA as proportionately with chimpanzees, more with chimpanzees and bonobos than any other animals, creatures. But the chimpanzees, very brutal. They'll kill infants to mate with the female. The males will kill each other. They're abusive and power grabbing, not always, but they do kill infants and kill each other and kill, But the bonobos are a matriarchal organized society that the elder female bonobos pass out the food and everybody gets fed. And when the young, usually males, maybe always, I don't know about that, teenage, adolescent bonobos try to take food or take over, the women get together and they will punish him, but they never kill him. They never wound him mortally. They will let him know he's not going to take over with his aggression. And so they live in this, everybody has enough. And the other thing, they have a lot of sex. I'm not suggesting that people should have a lot of sex to deal with the issues of not being in harmony and people having enough peace and the world not having enough peace and enough people being fed. But maybe affection and respect, you can't have too much of that. So if it's expressed sexually, good, if everybody's safe, wonderful, but affection. And in other languages, there is a word, I wish I knew them right now, but I don't. I just heard this podcast about light touches. English doesn't have a word for this kind of affection that literally not only is soothing and reassuring to the person that's receiving this light touch, but it also stimulates endorphins in natural opiates in the brain to calm us and to add to our sense of well-being. So the more we touch each other affectionately, which we can do through art. We don't have to physically touch each other to be moved. I've sat in front of art in many museums in my life, weeping tears of joy, sometimes, moved by the intense feeling I'm observing. Excuse me. Just thinking about sitting in front of a Van Gogh in the Metropolitan in New York, it brought it back. Anyway, we can't love too much, we can't care too much, and we can't create too much. So, Bodhi, is there anything else you want to say? And
I think that was lovely. I'll just ask the questions that came.
Sure.
And you can, if you're up for it.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, great. So I'll go in reverse order. First, we'll start with the comment. The Lone said, "Love it!" Exclamation point.
Thank you, thank you,
And
thank
then,
you.
Yep, DB Catalyst. Have you done any writing workshops? Are they necessary?
Have I conducted any writing workshops? Not exclusively writing. Whenever I've done creativity retreats, it usually mixes up all of the arts, including writing, but sometimes it's focused on just card making or, because of time, you can't do it all. I'd be open to doing a writing workshop. I'd love that. That'd be very fulfilling and heartwarming. And I've only gone to 2 workshops in my life on any subject, and they were both around writing. One was with a shaman in the desert. A friend invited me, and I went, and it was a very enriching experience. And in fact, that story is in my memoir. And the other was when I was asked by so many people to share my life stories because I've been through such adversity that, a judge said, how come she hasn't ended up on death row? Her stories like the women on death row. And I thought, wow, I guess maybe I have stumbled across, lucked out to have figured out some things that could help others. So I thought, all right, it'd be selfish not to share these stories if people say hearing them helps them. So I wrote a story over the weekend and went to a writing workshop with Noelle Oxenhandler, who's written some beautiful things. Not Noelle Oxenhandler, she's who's written beautiful things, but Alev Coutier, who's also a wonderful writer, and she invited me to her workshop. So I thought, well, either I can write or I can't. It doesn't mean I can't get better if I work at it, but I either have a inspiration to do this and it will show, so I'll just write something and bring it on Monday. And that story's in the book about my older sister's passing. And after I read this story, I looked around the workshop and a number of the women were weeping. And that's when I realized, I guess I can paint with words. I can dance the story onto the page. I had never done it before, and that was my test, and it moved people. And Alev said, you have what every writer wants, which is your own voice. And that's what I want to say to everybody all the time in every way is be yourself. Just give the world you. Nobody else can. And you have value and beauty and depth, and you know things no one else knows, and will enrich the world. As I say this, I'm getting goosebumps thinking about that. If I can help anyone trust themselves, believe in themselves enough to share. So I've made the world a little bit better. And who doesn't want to do that? So I hope that answered
lovely.
that question.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, of course. That's great. And then the only other question, you have Madeline said, you have a wonderful voice, sonically and literally. That's nice. When it comes to your writing voice, how did you hone that and not copy others?
Great questions. Thank you for that one, especially. I started writing before I'd ever read a book. I didn't read a book till I was 21, so that's pretty unusual. But self-taught, we've covered that subject. I also have always had a be me and don't copy, don't imitate, guiding light within. And so I started writing at 14 in my self-taught crazy script. No one else could read. I didn't have to write in code because I taught myself how to write the alphabet. And so my letters look like Arabic, people have told me. So I don't have to write in code for people to have privacy. I just write with my own unique longhand, and it's very private. But I started writing so that I'd have someone to talk to. someone that understood me, someone that I could say anything, anytime to. So a self-healing sacred witness. And I've kept that practice up. I have a document on my computer now that it's called clearing. And anytime someone does or says something that I feel hurt or confused or frightened by, I go to that document and I write what I need to say. I very seldom, well, actually what's in that document I never share with anyone because it's my own self-therapy. And I don't share publicly, I don't publish anything I haven't healed. I don't want the javelins of jealousy or lances of lust or grenades of greed to have anything to hurt. I want my heart totally open if I'm going to share something, so there's nothing to tear. As the javelins pass through, they turn to shafts of light because I have no resistance. So that requires I heal before I share it. So there's a process, and that's what the document clearing. So that's how I've always written. And I've got stacks of journals from different times in my life of just pouring it out. And because I wasn't trying to impress anyone, I didn't care about sentence structure or being a good writer or even understood by others, I learned to just flow and say what I needed to say without any restriction, without any boundaries. So then when it's time to write a story for others, I ask myself first, find a title so you have the most distilled version of that story, and then you really know what that story is about. I love short stories because everybody's busy. And it's like a little meditation, and there's a piece of art after every story. So then there's a cleansing the palate piece of art after every story. And so when I have the title is when I write the story. And I start by saying, what is the story? What's the quickest way you can tell it? What are the things that are necessary to tell this story? And now enjoy telling it. And that's my writing process. Everyone has their own, but to find your own voice, you have to talk to yourself. Bodhi said when he was a little boy, "Mom, do you talk to yourself?" And I said, "Well, sure." And he said, "Does that bother you that you talk to yourself?" And I said, "Oh, no, it would bother me if I didn't know it was myself that was talking." And I thought I was talking to someone else, but I know I'm talking to myself, so it's fine. So we talk to yourself, write to yourself, be yourself, and don't try to impress anybody else. Just be you, be real, be the beautiful, authentic, unique, no one else is like you person you are. How about that?
That's fantastic. I love that answer.
Yeah.
Great. Well, those are the questions we've got. So, and you did the full time.
Okay. Well, I just
And
want to once again thank you for being here and telling a friend. And thanks again for the grant, Minnesota State Arts Board and National Endowment for the Arts. And thank you, Bodhi, for all your technical assistance. And let me end by I love helping Bodhi by asking questions about his ideas. And he told me of an image he had, I think from a dream, that turned into a whole book because I started by asking questions that helped him unfold the story. And and enjoy the process of writing Northport 1999, that his Patreon members get that book and the illustrations. So help each other, find someone that can be your advocate, and I love to help people. That's why I love being a creativity coach. I helped a woman here in the community after retiring find that, turn her love just by listening to people. You can hear what they love, what inspires them, and you can reflect it back to them and help them to turn it into something even more fulfilling and sometimes sustaining or money making if that's what they choose. So the art of listening, let it not be lost with our click fast world that we're in now. Spend some time listening to yourself and listening to others, and not just looking for distractions. All right. Well,
Wonderful.
hope there's something here that helped you. And next week, or Thursday, I'll be back at 11, and we'll talk more about how to find that inspiration and commit to completing something, and how to make it better along the way by opening up to constructive feedback, how to celebrate that you've done it, and then how to come up with a promotion plan for anything you want to do with it. So there you go. See you Thursday at 11, and thanks for being here.
All right, great. Well, we'll end it here. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.